First item on the agenda tonight is the Pledge of Allegiance. Nick, will you lead us in that?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have the non-public and public meeting minutes of June 15th, 2023.
Motion approved.
Yep.
Motion to approve the non-public and public meetings from, what's the date on it again?
June 15th,
June
2023.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments regarding the minutes? Corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? That's 5-0.
Abstention.
One abstention. Yep, 4-0-1.
I make a motion to seal the non-public minutes of the 5 o'clock session of the non-public minutes
Second.
from July 6th, as they could affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, render a proposed action ineffective, or pertains to preparation or carrying out of actions regarding terrorism.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That's 5-0. Okay. We're gonna skip the next item for just a few minutes, and we're gonna talk about,
Consent agenda first.
oh, sorry. Yes, consent agenda.
Just before you go, so you know, all your materials are in the folder, there's so much in consent agenda lately, it's just hard to see all of your
Yeah.
meeting stuff, so from now on, they'll be in the folder.
Okay.
If there's something specific you need to look at, so.
Okay, who would like to motion the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda dated July 6, 2023. Accounts payable manifest dated 6/22/23. Accounts payable manifest dated 6/29/23. Accounts payable manifest dated 7/6/23. Payroll manifest dated 6/2/23. Payroll manifest dated 7/6/23. Distribution of funds from the Recreation Patriotic Trust Fund in the amount of $600. Distribution of funds from the Recreation Patriotic Trust Fund in the amount of $600. Distribution of funds from the Building Maintenance Fund in the amount of $762.60. Transfer of funds from the town's general fund to the sewer department's operating fund in the amount of $7,290.89. Transfer of funds from the town's sewer department operating fund to the town's general fund in the amount of $131,092.01. Transfer of funds from the town's general fund to the water department's operating fund in the amount of $11,468.33. Transfer of fund from the water department's operating fund to the town's general fund in the amount of $144,981.54. 5-year review and approval of credit or exemption for map lot number 116-003-030, veterans credit of $500. Removal of credit or exemption as it no longer qualifies, map lot 223-022-074, disabled exemption. Approval of updated paperwork and exemption for improvement to assist persons with disabilities from map lot 217-134 in the amount of $5,500. Administrative abatement for map lot number 220-015-141 in the amount of $97.65. Administrative abatement for map lot 220-015-113, amount of $61.95. Administrative abatement for map lot 220-015-088 in the amount of $61.95. Administrative abatement for map lot 220-015-092 in the amount of $66.15. Reserve EMS provider job description. Resignation of Richard Laflamme from the Historic District Commission, authorization for finance officer to claim town's abandoned property funds from the state, the amount of $29.33 and $191.68, extension of the current use review contract through 7/21/23.
Second.
And Partridge and Pear Tree.
Is second by Les. Is there any item someone wants to take off the consent agenda, or any conversations or questions regarding the consent agenda? Harry? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. That is unanimous. We're gonna change things up for a couple of minutes. Mark, how much time do you need?
Just a few minutes.
Okay, why don't you come on up?
Mark, there's a couple things on, under this.
Yeah.
The first one is probably the paving projects update.
Yeah.
That is under,
05 highway paving project.
yeah, so that, if you look at that, that was the breakdown we emailed out to, the projects.
Yes.
That was prior to the weather events. Mark will also give you an update on the weather events and how they're affecting
Yep.
potentially the paving.
So, the week before the paving, or you gave permission, Hall Road was topped with the money that we encumbered from
We encumbered, that was the money that
the
we got.
Recovery Act money.
Yep.
So we used that, and I added about 20,000 to that to finish the top on Hall Road. They were scheduled to come back and start on Bristol Hill Road Monday morning, and we had a severe weather event Sunday night, Monday morning, so that was postponed. They did come back last Friday, and we did the shim on Smith River Road and Mountain Hill and Profile Falls Road, so those are done for this year. Hall Road, we paved that on Friday, rained Monday, washed the ditches out. There's a little damage to some of the new pavement, it's not really bad.
Yeah, I saw that.
We got the ditches filled back in, hopefully we can get them stabilized before another big event.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is getting the material we put in to stabilize. We were scheduled to do our chip sealing tomorrow, and lo and behold, we discovered a collapsed culvert this morning on 10 Mile Brook Road, so we postponed them. We'll replace that culvert next week and get that ready as soon as we can. The paving, as far as Bristol Hill Road goes, we're gonna be short on the budget now. I've talked to GMI, our contractor for the job. They recommend coming in with a mill and milling all the spots where the pavement undermined, so we make sure we get those taken care of.
Yeah.
So that'll be an additional cost. We've spent quite a lot on materials to fill in everything, so I'm not so sure how and when to proceed with Bristol Hill, whether we go ahead and just shim it this year, do the milling, shim what's left, and then come back and top again next year, or whatever we have for funds. If we get the disaster declaration, I don't know if we can work it out to go ahead and do it all.
Okay.
I don't know. I just asked Ben, and I don't know if or when we'll get a disaster declaration for that. It seems like if they include all the other parts of the states in the thunder showers that happen in the days following the initial one, that they will meet the threshold, and
They should.
should.
We'll
So,
see.
So one thing to add to that is the December declaration, we just barely closed it out
Right.
2 weeks ago, Ben.
Yeah, well, last meeting, so
Last,
it's
yeah.
still probably a month or two from being closed.
So,
Eric doesn't like wish.
Not funny. Okay, so we'll know more about the declaration hopefully soon.
I can't imagine that we'll know before the end of this month.
Okay.
Do you
Before the
agree?
end of the summer would
Yeah.
be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll know about the old declaration, we know when we hopefully will get the funds from December potentially, but by the end of July, hopefully. But I can't imagine that we'll know about a disaster declaration.
I don't know how everyone else feels. I would think that we could, I don't want to put extra stress on the budget than we already have. So I would say get it stabilized and on Bristol Hill, and then get the top coat in next season.
yep, that sounds reasonable. We've got most all of the washouts, small ones, big ones,
taken care of for right now.
Yeah,
Monday we'll start the cleanup of all the stuff that got pushed out of the way and pretty things up, so.
okay. I don't want to belabor anything, but I was having a conversation with the Alexandria selectmen, and we both were of the opinion that a lot of the culverts of the driveways are probably undersized. And how do we be proactive going forward, you know, without telling people they need to rip it up and put in a new culvert, but.
Our town policy states that we replace culverts as they need it. I'm sure we would replace with a bigger size now. I mean, it's really hard to tell. A lot of the culverts, this storm blew right through them and they're nice and clean now.
Yeah.
And there's not even a trace of dirt in it.
Right.
And then there's other ones that just
Jump the,
plugged up and
Yeah.
jumped and
yeah.
made a big mess.
But specifically tied, not the road culverts themselves,
Yeah,
but
driveway
you know,
culverts.
the driveway is coming through.
I mean, it is our policy to replace them as we need to.
Okay,
It's not something we go out looking for, and we won't replace one if it's functioning,
right.
but because, you know, the property owner has a bump in his driveway, that, as long as it works, we don't do it.
Yeah,
If we find a spot where we have to upgrade, then we would definitely do that.
okay, all right,
So the second, Mark has one more
Yep.
thing that I think will be fairly quick.
Okay.
And that is under your number 5 plowing, Second Street issue.
Yep.
I'm not gonna share the videos unless you'd like to.
No.
Mark and I sat through the videos. We both agree that we did not see any kind of malicious activity. I couldn't email those videos out, but they are in your folders if you'd like to take a look at them.
okay.
But our recommendation is to deny the request. Mark had another thought, and we'll let Mark explain that.
What was my thought?
Yeah, if they push it, we just get somebody to survey the lot and make sure they have their stuff clear of our.
I had made that comment because I was of the opinion that the fence is probably in the
It's right on the edge of the pavement. I don't know what the right of way is for Second Street, whether we got 3 rods, 2 rods, or whatever it
Right.
is, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did the fence get damaged?
The letter that's under number 5 claims that it was damaged, that we did it, that the town did it on purpose, as part of it. That we've hit it a few occasions, and so we've asked for videos, and that's what's in your packets.
Yeah.
The snow obviously does push the fence, but it's general plowing. We're not turning it on purpose. You can tell in all the videos, so.
And I'll make the comment that I can't believe he was going that slow plowing that road.
We did make that comment when we watched them.
I mean, it's very slow, methodic. He's doing a real nice job plowing in front of that house, so I don't see the complaint.
Even on the corner where he's pushing the snow up on the corner, you can't see the snow go through the fence or push the fence at all. The only spot where you could see anything where the snow went through the fence was when he was coming down the road, but that was just straight down the road plowing, so. In with their letter is a request to reimburse them for the cost of the fence, and the receipt is there as well.
Okay.
So they want a free fence, is what you're saying?
They're saying that this is the second time that they've replaced it, so.
Well, I mean, if the fence got damaged by plowing in some way or another, it's probably a legitimate, many people would say that, right? I'm not seeing it, but I'm saying if the plow damaged your fence, you would say.
Right.
If,
Unless
It
you
would be a legitimate
unless your
question.
fence is in the right.
No, I'm not, but I'm saying I think it's fair for someone to say,
Right.
at least to ask the question.
Yeah, and
Correct.
it is right on the edge of the pavement.
Yeah, I saw it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing.
It's not set back from literally like 3 inches
Right.
off the pavement.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's just, shouldn't say, it's like, it's a wire fence, it's not.
Yes, it's nothing expensive, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
It's,
okay.
So
I don't see any further action.
the general consensus is to deny their request.
I would say yes.
Well, I'd check and see if it's on our right of way. I mean, if it is,
Well, so
That's what
this-
is that what you're saying, Mark? It might be.
We'd have to pay for
We
it.
would have to survey the road to make sure though. We would have to survey that side. We believe it's in the right of way, but without a survey, you can't say that it is.
Most likely this won't go away.
No, because this is the second time.
Right, that's my point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if it doesn't go away, then we have a survey done.
Is this the same?
Yeah, so no, that, in your email last night, there was an insinuation on those two, so. If you look at the title,
Yeah.
that, so the last two videos indicate the town private property. So there is a click, they're not in the letter, but those videos were given to us. So there's I'm assuming, an insinuation that the town was taking snow off of a private property. But it's a corner, and you
Yes,
have
the
the site.
loader was scooping the snow up from the intersection, and he was carrying it back up the hill, and it was being dumped in our right-of-way where Second Street doesn't go, our right-of-way goes completely from Beach Street to Prospect Street. But the travel road ends at Chestnut and Church Street.
Right.
So there's that right-of-way that goes between Chestnut and Prospect where we take and dump the snow when we clean the intersections out. And that's what he was doing, just a couple of scoops, each corner, each side, and run it up the hill to get it out of the way.
Okay.
Most of these don't show anything.
You gotta wait like 4 minutes.
Well, yeah, but even then.
This wasn't the same person that submitted them.
There are two different camera views. There's one camera off the back of the home, and then there's one camera off the front of the home.
No issue there whatsoever.
Okay.
So, but we did watch every bit of
Yep.
all of them, just to make sure.
All right.
So I will reach out and let them know that we've denied their request.
Yep. Thank you, Mark.
I have one
That was
question.
it.
What, the culvert on North Main Street, is that gonna get repaired?
Yes, the one by the picker,
Yeah.
yeah. We've known that it's been bad since back in January. We were waiting for it to be dry this summer to change the pipe, and then it hasn't dried out, so it
Let
is
you know
on.
when that happens.
We will be replacing it.
All right.
It's much easier to replace a pipe like that if the water flow is way down.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yep,
All right.
Now you can make the concert.
okay,
Thank you, Mark.
yeah, thank you.
Do you
Yep,
want this?
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. One of our, we're usually dealing with something that's either touchy or needs to happen for the town, but one of the things that I've always liked as being a selectman is to be able to honor and give recognition to our town employees whenever possible. And this is a bittersweet commendation, but we're going to do that. We're here this evening to offer a commendation and a letter of gratitude to Officer Nick Kelly. Nick, can you? Ann Ara? Thank you. Thank you. We are expressing our deepest gratitude and admiration for the outstanding professionalism, compassion, and dedication demonstrated by Police Officer Nicholas Kelly during a recent sensitive situation. The actions taken by Officer Kelly not only showcased his exceptional skill as a law enforcement officer, but also highlighted his unwavering commitment to serving and protecting the community. On June 3rd, Officer Kelly responded to an extremely challenging and heartbreaking incident. It was a situation that required delicate handling and the ability to make split-second decisions. And Officer Kelly displayed all of these qualities with remarkable grace and expertise. Officer Kelly went above and beyond the call of duty to provide assistance. Moreover, Officer Kelly demonstrated remarkable decision-making skills under pressure. He quickly assessed the situation, evaluated the risks involved, and executed a plan with no concerns for his own safety, and coordinated response with other personnel involved.
His ability to think critically and act swiftly in a sensitive and evolving environment is a testament to his exceptional training and expertise as a law enforcement professional. The exemplary conduct displayed by Officer Kelly during this challenging situation reflects positively not only on his character, but also on the entire Bristol Police Department. His actions truly embody the values and principles that law enforcement officers strive to uphold. We believe that it is of utmost importance to acknowledge and recognize exceptional acts of service. Therefore, we are issuing this formal commendation to Officer Kelly for his outstanding dedication, unwavering courage, and exceptional professionalism. It is with immense honor and respect that we present this commendation. I also, we have a couple of members here from Franklin, both from Franklin. Who recommended to us this commendation. We wholeheartedly agree and wanted to do that. And so Nick, thank you very much. Your work is very much appreciated. Say anything?
With you guys too?
Yeah, sure. It's okay.
What do you got for me?
Nice to see you, as always.
Thank you.
Congrats,
Thank you
buddy.
so much.
Awesome.
Nice job.
Nice job. Solid work.
I'll give this to the chief so that you don't have to carry that around. Are you on for the night? No, I'm not. Okay.
Can we take a picture with the chief too?
Yep, absolutely.
And then one with all the select board?
Okay.
Oh, no.
You can hold
it.
You'll need it with all done.
Okay.
I was gonna say, he knows all you guys.
Bye, buddy. Yeah. There's no clicks, so let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Nice job, Nick.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. I would have missed it. Oh, absolutely. Great job.
Sorry. I just wanted to sign that one again for the file because we didn't get the copy of the file. I told Sean I brought this specifically for him.
I actually brought one, although it's blue. I'm guilty too.
I'm gonna keep this and bring it to the meeting. Somebody want a dinner?
Usually I have like 12.
Bye, Chamber.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. All right. Okay.
It's cool off in here.
That's like, oh, it's a truck for this.
Or you had a thermostat or something like that.
Although the AC's working on this side, but not the middle.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is land use fee structure.
So this before you at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And Julian had presented, the recommended or proposed fee changes, because the fees haven't been changed since 2017. We wanted to wait until you had a full board to consider them. And if there were any that, Bob, that you wanted to specifically address or change, or how you felt about the proposed changes. So, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, just, obviously the last time I was here, some of you had to step out, just to kind of give you a snapshot. As you can see, I did a comparison with other similar towns, same size, same demographics, same type of lake community and that kind of thing, just to see where we were in line with or out of line with what other towns are doing. And as Christina mentioned, the land use fees have not been changed since 2017. And so the column that proposed, we were very much in line with some of them. Some towns didn't call them the same thing we do.
Right.
So you'll see, blanks in those columns, but where other towns did have same type of permits, I took a look at those to see where we were in line with, and as you can see in the yellow section is what I'm proposing. The other big change, not only to perhaps adjusting our fee structure, is to also adopt the after the fact, and I just named it that because that's what some other towns call it too, is the after the fact zoning compliance fee. Because currently, if we find out, it's brought to our attention that people did work without a permit, we're reaching out to them, they're coming in and they're saying either one, I didn't know, or you caught me, kind of thing, and they're paying just as if you or I applied for it the first time. There's no, and I guess I probably shouldn't use the word sting, but
No incentive.
Other towns are applying, and it's across the board. I mean, there's some that it's significant, but what I'm proposing we do is do 2 times what the permit fee was. Hey, you didn't reach out to us initially, you are now, or we've reached out to you and you're coming in. So whatever that permit application fee would have been had you come to us first, it's now double.
Okay, if I recall from our last conversation, I think we had one question or concern regarding not wanting to, increase costs potentially to people as a disincentive to build, or be in compliance, I should say. Which I get. I personally think is probably such a small portion of an overall project that and then we wanted to talk about it tonight too because Rob wasn't here at the last meeting, so and I don't know if obviously you've not had a chance to go through every line, but if there was any comments or questions regarding moving forward with this.
I mean, everybody else seems to be pretty much on board with it.
Yeah, I think there was general consensus that, we definitely, it's a fine line between, we don't consider this a moneymaker, but, there should be some compensation for the time that it takes. I like the after the fact thing.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, how long's it been since we?
17.
2017.
Not forever, but
Right.
6 years.
yeah.
The
But
cost.
what we did find was we weren't, even with that, we weren't really in line with a lot of other
Right.
communities with charging.
And I'm trying to think, in 2017, I don't think there's a lot changed.
Yeah.
I think it may have been some minor
Right.
adjustments.
Right.
Yeah,
I
it's-
think a lot of those values have been longer
And
than
we-
2017.
And since then, we have adopted like driveway permit.
Yep.
That just came into play in end of 2021,
Okay.
I think, so that's new.
And we're recommending the change because driveway permits they're a lot longer to do. There's a lot more work behind them now with the new
Yeah.
regulations.
Yeah.
Oh, Brown is raising his hand.
Yep, no,
So,
waiting for him to talk.
would you say that compared to 15 years ago, I'm throwing a number out, I'm thinking about the Conservation Commission, there's a lot more staff time put into these nighttime meetings for all of these types of things. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Most all the meetings have 2 staff members at them?
Right, yes.
Currently.
Currently, there's 2 to 3, but they're
2 or
now
3, yeah.
slowly shifting
Right.
again.
Yeah.
But it is taking a lot more staff time. a lot.
Yeah, and that's costing us, the town, more to do that. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, that's very safe to say. I mean, it's not, the amount of time it's taking when renewals are renewals, but you know, any application that comes in is taking time. It's taking Mike Lacass's time to go out into the field, to meet with the applicant, to do measurements, going back to the field to make sure they are putting it where it was said to be, you know. There's a lot of work going into all the elements of these things. And again, as you can see, comparative to other towns that have readdressed their fee structure, they've taken that into account. And I also looked at towns that didn't have a building inspector. You know, we're different in that regard, so. But
What I will add to, one thing that also has been added to the department is all of the department head feedback. I mean, this is stuff that took place on planning and zoning applications to a point, but now it's on all the building land use permits. It's on all the land use permits. It's making sure that all the department heads do get to provide input on the conditions for property or if there's concerns. And that takes quite a bit of time as well. So it's a lot more steps to doing a permit application than it used to be, so.
A follow-up are there any of these situations that are driven by something we have asked a homeowner to do? Or an applicant to do?
Like,
I.e., should we be charging them an extra fee if it's something that they're having to do because of a request by us, or does that not happen?
so your question is if we're requiring them to go to the zoning board because they're violating their setbacks?
Well, that seems kind of obvious, but continue, yeah.
Well, that's just an example.
Yeah.
That would be something we're telling them they have to go to the zoning board. So how do you distinguish between, I mean, we're always telling them to do something. We're
That's-
telling them to
because
apply
we're-
for a permit, and we're telling them to apply for a variance or a special exception. We are always requiring them
I
to
mean,
do
the
something.
zoning ordinance is what we live in
Okay,
and
fair.
drive by, so.
You understand what I was asking?
Yes, yes.
And the voters put those zoning,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and again, I know there are always circumstances around, you know, I didn't know, or, you know, anybody can find, I was I didn't know situation. I did a bunch of work at my house, before I got this job, and came in and said I didn't realize I needed a permit to do all that work, so I self-identified, by the way, nobody caught me. And I paid my fee. But, you know, there are those circumstances, and, you know, my team we're really trying to drive positive behavior and educate the town people on why we're here, what we're doing, and be positive. And previously mentioned, you know, there's been some some other things that have happened recently, but for the most part, we had a gentleman actually just before the office closed today who came in who received one of my recent letters, and he was appreciative of it. He actually is going to be a variance. You know, it's not a simple permit that we could issue because what he did is outside the zoning ordinance, so he has to apply for a variance now. But in conversation with him, he mentioned other work he was thinking about doing, and I said, you know, again, you need to realize if you do any of this work, you need to come back and see us. He's like, well, thank you, you know, I didn't know. And I get it, a lot of people don't go to the town website to see what I can do and what I can't do, so.
Two things, well, one, there is one that's not filled out on your copies, I just realized, which is the alternate solar energy. The proposed fee is $125 there. That's the
I think
only
that's the
one.
only one.
Yeah,
I
that's-
hand wrote that one after.
And would it be all right to address the, since we kind of brought it up, can we address the Facebook issue?
Yeah, absolutely. I
So-
was just looking for it.
I wanted, some of the comments that were on the Facebook page was about the letters that were sent out and saying that the land use should have done their due diligence before they sent these letters. There was also some other comments about we should be enforcing the deed restrictions and covenants on a property because someone had to take out their Quonset hut because they were violating their deed restrictions.
That's not a town.
No, so I just wanted to add a comment, because I feel like it should be said publicly, because land use did do their due diligence. They reviewed 199 changes on properties, and by changes, this means any property that was reviewed by the assessing firm that showed a change in value during the spring billing. Joanne went through every single one of those and narrowed it down to 40 properties. And they got letters, because, and the letters didn't talk about fines, that was also mentioned on Facebook. It just said that it appears that you've done work without permitting.
If you have an approved permit that we don't have, provide us, you know, the approved permit, or contact the land use department and I did give a date, because if you don't give a date, nobody's ever gonna reach out to you.
And so comments were made on Facebook, but comments were also brought to another board member from an individual who got a letter, who was concerned. And I just wanted to bring that up tonight because I felt that it really needed to say that. Out of the 40 letters that were sent, responses, and those are in your folders as well, responses so far have been, one required a variance, so person did the work and it required a variance without permitting. So we could have saved them some steps potentially if the permitting had been done up front. 12 needed a permit and are in varying stages for applying. 10 did not need permits, so when they called, we straightened it out and they're all set. They just have to respond to the letter. And then 17 haven't responded so far. So Joanne did a really nice little graph and pie chart that's in your folders as well. But and the other thing I wanted to touch base on was that covenants and deed restrictions are not enforceable by the town. If a property owner meets the zoning ordinance and the site plan and subdivision regulations, then the town has to approve the permit. We can't, so the property owner needs to understand when their restrictions are in place, and they need to make sure that it's okay with their neighborhood. We can't deny a permit based on whatever's in their deed. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
For the camera, for the people listening, could you be really clear? So the land use staff did not go out looking for problems and then send letters?
No,
Because that's what
yes,
the accusations on Facebook were.
not at all.
We
I think
reviewed,
it's been taken.
Yeah, so so when the assessors go out, they will make notes and make changes to a tax card. And I'll use mine as an example. You know, I either renovated or I add a shed or something like that, and that increases a tax card, either by a feature or whatever, and they'll also make notes on that. So I ran a report after they were done, showing me where the variances were. And then, as Christina said, I mean, I culled through that list. I mean, I went to every tax card, read every note to see if there was a history there, if there was a corresponding permit that was pulled land use folders. So there was due diligence that was done behind the scenes. And we were able to get that list down to 40 letters. And I will say, there's 17 that have yet to respond. Well, that was as of yesterday. I don't think that number's changed, though.
Okay.
17, so.
Thank you.
And this isn't something new either. We've, granted in the past, we haven't been as able to do it as the department is now, which is great. But we've done it in the past. We've sent the same letter. It's the same template, I think, almost, that says that did you do work without permitting, provide a copy of the permit, or come in and talk to us, something like that.
But to add to your question, Carol, is that there are times, and I think I mentioned it at another meeting, there are times when I am driving through town, because how I drive through town is so different now. When I drive through town and I do see something new, I do come back and I do check to see if there's a land use permit or if they have it. And if they don't, we reach out to that person to say, hey, so not that I'm looking for it, but if I notice it, or anybody on my team.
Sure,
They notice.
you have a duty to do that.
Right,
So thank you. I just wanted to be clear with people listening, it wasn't what some people thought it was.
Thank you.
So so now that we've gotten a little off subject, but going back to the fees, what are your thoughts for tonight?
I'm in favor of approving the changes. Okay, so I need a motion.
I make a motion to approve the proposed changes to
Land use fee
the
structure.
use fee structure.
Second by Scott, I think I heard first there. Any further comments or questions?
Do you, effective,
You tell me.
well, my thoughts are when we would put a news item out, saying that the fee structure is changed effective a certain date, maybe August 1st or something like that, and that gives people time to notice it. We can get it in the buzz and let people know, and
Let's say September.
Let's set
first.
and that gives
September.
it gives us time to change all the forms.
Yes,
That's what
September.
my motion said, September 1st.
I thought that's what you wanted. Scott, do you remember that in her motion?
I do.
Okay.
He agreed.
Yeah, and he agreed. Okay, any
Perfect.
further comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, abstentions, thank you. Good.
May I ask you
Thank you.
another question while we're public? We've been following up on Hall Road, Department of Environmental Services. I saw you emailed. Have you heard back
Yes, sir.
yet?
No, I sent them another email after our conversation last night.
I
I've
talked to the Water Division Director last week, and he, or the week before, prompted the compliance person to get a hold of it. But then we had the storm event, fair enough, but
Yeah.
again, we have a taxpayer who's been waiting months. Tell me if I'm doing something wrong, or tell me I can move ahead, or tell me something.
Right.
And I don't know how we can get off dead center, so I'm putting it out there just so that we can, it's in the public forum.
We reach out frequently to DES to get an update.
So thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
So we covered police, land use, highway, water, sewer.
I'm gonna do that. So that's under your number 6 purchase order, JWC Environmental. This is, I love the name, sorry. Muffin Monster. It really is called that. The Muffin Monster is the brand of grinder that the water sewer department has in place. The quote is to rebuild the unit we have. The parts that are required to rebuild are only available through this manufacturer. This is a critical piece of equipment in the treatment process as it aids in grinding the rags to prevent clogging the pumps. So the purchase order is the only, so this is the only contract person we can get it through, but it's $12,138. If you have any concerns.
Okay.
Any signature?
Well, no, we need to, if you agree or don't have any other questions, we need a motion with the purchase order number and amount in it, and to authorize the TA to sign.
This is the one at the plant or the one at?
This is the one at the
Secretary.
plant.
Okay.
I think I'm up with that.
I know.
This coming from water and sewer?
Yes, yeah. It was the only item he had, so I said I could present it for you.
Okay.
So. Unless you have other questions.
You don't want that working properly.
No.
Because, well, it just affects everything downstream.
Yeah.
Right.
You can, and I've seen it when it's not working properly, because there's a pile of rags.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
We won't talk about what that consists of.
I don't wanna know.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase order 003766 for Muffin Monster at the sewer plant for the total amount of $12,138.
And to approve the TA to sign.
And to approve the town administrator to sign. Thank you.
Second by Rob. Any further questions or comments, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, abstentions, that is 5-0.
So the next one, whoops, I'll wait for you.
Oh, do we have something else?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Poor Ben. Ben has a couple of items.
Okay.
I'm not sure if all of them are public, but
We'll do what we can in public and then
we can in
we'll...
public. They're both under number 7. I guess the first one would probably be the one labeled EMS billing rates.
Just, I think, well, because we don't have anything else on the agenda except for TA, we can do this portion, then go into non-public,
And come back up.
and then come back out and do TA? Okay.
All right,
So,
I'm just gonna work down my list if that's fine. So billing rates, Ingrid and I have been looking at billing rates really over the past year. It's been about 5 years. It was either 17 or 18, I think it was 18. We increased them. It was a fairly large increase then because it had probably been, well, at least that same 5-year time period. You know, typically, prior to me probably, they were done a little bit more regularly than that. It's just kind of a pain to get all the information and whatnot, and we can certainly try to keep up on it, but it's been 5 years. We largely base it as we look at, you know, what is kind of the area paying. So on the copy of that, the change form that comes from ComStar, there's the average bundled ComStar top 50, and that, I put it in the letter, but I'll say it, that that's really ComStar's top 50 billing rates out of the couple hundred municipalities or private services that they bill for, and then that's the average of it. So they're collecting that. Even if you go around the state, I've had interesting conversations with other fire chiefs that charge significantly higher than even those numbers, and they say, hey, the insurance companies pay it. And you know, if we don't, we have probably a different write-off policy than you, that we, you know, don't go after certainly taxpayers or whatever really hard. That's a sticky situation that I'd like to avoid. I'd like to just have some fair kind of balanced rates, and we just equally pursue non-payments on them. So I get it, and certainly Bristol, New Hampshire's ambulance is not going to break the healthcare system, but I think if everybody has that attitude, then we're certainly part of the problem within the healthcare system. And yeah, it'd be nice to get $3,000 to $5,000 every time the ambulance goes out, but that's also not going to happen, and it's not realistic. Right? You know, this 15% increase, you can do the math and say, well, that's I can't do the math right now, but that's whatever. Well, on our current collections, that's pushing $100,000. $90,000 to $100,000, but that's not what we're going to get. Our payer mix is still very high: Medicare, Medicaid, out-of-state payers, all that stuff that goes into decreased numbers. Realistically, a 15% increase, probably on the conservative side, is $30,000 a year in revenue increase. You know, on the high side, maybe mid-40s. You know, that's really the top end of what an increase like this is, which is probably closer to 10%, and we'll never see that. So this, we got the Grafton County numbers from ComStar, built some averages, and said let's be right in the middle, maybe just above, based on where we currently are, and sticking with kind of a stock 15%. It's been 5 years. That's probably on the low side, certainly from an inflation standpoint, but that's where the number comes from. The mileage number is a bigger increase, but like I said, we more heavily based it on the Grafton County, which was, I think the average was 24, but if you take out some kind of oddball, really low numbers, the average is like basically 28 or 26 and change or something.
Yep.
So that is what I am recommending, and certainly if we get it approved tonight, it'll go into effect August 1st. Which we can look at any billing numbers for timelines, but it'll kind of put a hard wall against it. And so we're looking at next year's EMS contract numbers. It'll truly reflect that, and you know, it'll give a good benchmark to start at, and see what the effect of it was. That's number one.
Any questions, comments?
What's on the chart at the back, what's BLS and ALS? I'm sure I'm supposed to know this.
So basic life support and advanced life support.
Thank you.
So most of our, probably half of our calls get billed at the BLS rate, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then really, because of our staffing level, we can bill that other half, even if we're not doing ALS skills. ALS 2 is really, we don't see that a lot. It's mostly BLS, ALS 1. ALS 2, you've got to do a couple procedures and give a couple of vasoactive medications for it to kick in, so really sick people.
Okay, thank you.
I just, can we go more than 50%?
Yeah, we can.
I like revenue, so. I mean, the only reason I say that is, so it hasn't been adjusted in 5 years. Obviously, the cost of everything over the past 5 years is way more than a 15% adjustment. And we're not going to adjust again probably for 5 years. Is that?
We shouldn't be waiting that long.
No, we shouldn't be. And that was discussed the last time we did it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it kind of, you get the numbers every year, and so even though we're not going off of this top 50 number, I just kind of, I'll plug it in real quick and say, well, there wasn't really any change, and so, you know, is it super worth it? And one of the other factors that a lot of places will use, so when we did that 5-year review, it was kind of Medicare changes, because as Medicare would go down, like, you gotta kind of do some adjustment to keep your revenue up. Because they only allow so much, and that's just where it caps.
Yeah.
You know, you might send a $2,000 bill, but you're going to get roughly $450, and that's what you got to deal with. And so we would use that number, and then we would look at the overall budget, and you know, particularly EMS areas, and obviously the biggest being salary. And as we adjusted those, you'd kind of add that in, and that's how we came up with that number originally. It's not that much work. You know, we can certainly do a better job of looking at it annually. You know, we wouldn't look at it this year, and then when they send the stuff out in November, December, then it'll put it on my plate to say, you know, let's make an adjustment so we stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Why not take bigger bites, and then, you know, rather than him have to review it every year. I don't imagine you did this in an afternoon. So.
Where's the higher we go in this rate, what does that cost you and the staff for collections work? So obviously, the higher you go, the more collections you're gonna have to do.
Yeah, it probably doesn't change staff work that significantly. It really doesn't. We've put a ton of systems in place really to capture, like we look at it and say, when there's this, 8 or 10% is $30,000 that we're missing out on, right? And a lot of that was like insurance. Insurance will still, for some reason, send a check to the patient, right? Well, man, it's really hard to look at an $1,800 check and
Sign it over.
sign it over, And so then that was a longer process, and we put, some letters in place. Basically, you're legally obligated to send us that. You sign the contract contract, so to speak, that says we're going to bill, and if you get a check, you got to send it to us. That's been huge. Like that system, like that just all happens now naturally. So changing these to anything but $0 really doesn't have any effect on the workload.
Okay. Thank you.
No, quick question, this is a little off the rails, but I've heard of other towns having different rates for residents of the town as opposed to someone from out of town. Is that legal?
I'm guessing it is based on that there's a number of towns that do that.
Yeah.
That wouldn't seem right though if it's a town we have a contract with.
Right.
Right.
Or even residents of those towns. I mean, the only reason I say this is, and it's hard to, I don't know, you know way better than I would. I imagine it's not easy to figure out what percentage of the Bristol Fire Department's transports are residents of either our town or those contract towns.
Yeah, I mean, it's not impossible the way that we get the information, so
But
it's
it's a
just
lot of
as
work.
simple as a search. But I don't know, it doesn't ever seem right to do it that way to me, but,
Yeah.
I guess I can,
Well, and here's the
Yeah.
reason I say it. So I look at it like, so you get a Bristol resident, and I understand we contract other towns too. But I would like to see, maybe even if Bristol residents are offered a discount or something like that. Because that, we're sending the ambulance out of town on other calls, and we're taking away time that ambulance is away in town. And then, I don't know, I'm just looking for a benefit to our taxpayers.
I would think though that if I was the other towns, I'd think, why are we paying a contract for services if
Yeah.
you're gonna charge our people more money? They're already paying.
But if we're
to be part of it.
offering a discount to our residents, we're
What
not
kind of
charging
big deal
them.
would that be though, billing wise?
Are you talking residents and property owners? Because now are you gonna charge someone who?
God, it's the beach all over again.
It is in a way.
Yeah.
So that's my question. I understand what you're trying to do, but
Yeah.
how do you distinguish between residents and property owners? Or, you know what I mean? Or-
I'm just forget I said it. So I guess I'm going back to, I know Plymouth. Plymouth used to be free of charge for residents of Plymouth. But then they billed to their other towns they were covering, or people that weren't residents of that town.
So-
I probably should have skipped.
So if I'm driving in Franklin and I have an accident, and their ambulance has to come get me, it's fair for them to charge me more because I don't live there?
Or
Is
not
that
charge, or charge,
Or not?
yeah.
Yeah, you are charging you more, yeah.
Is it, or?
Well, you're gonna pay a
That's what
different
you're-
rate than
They
in
might be
Franklin, you're gonna
already.
pay in Bristol.
But that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
The breaks down.
Am I translating that correctly?
Except you're on the other end, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm reversing it, but.
Okay, maybe I'm looking at offering a discount to Bristol residents is maybe that's a better way of putting it.
Well, right, that's, yeah.
How about we offer them a discount if they
I
pay their
think-
bill on the collection side?
I think it's.
Just forget I said it. I'm serious.
well,
They're doing a great job with collections. We're gonna increase revenue by going up in rates. I would like to see it go up a little higher if that's not gonna.
I mean, the only thing I'd say in support of that is people love to ask you that question about why are we going out of other towns and why aren't you just taking care of us? So residents do feel like they should have some kind of a leg up on other
the towns.
Yeah, I get that, and I think the argument to that has always been,
Yeah.
we'd have one ambulance.
Right.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because the amount, with the current call volume, one ambulance.
Right,
Just in Bristol.
okay, we'd have 2 ambulances, but we'd be paying for all of both.
Right.
Right.
And I guess the other question would be, you just approved this reserve EMS, so we're gonna go to another town, pick up their provider potentially, and now charge them extra.
I'm not saying charge them extra.
Well, charge them more than the discount.
I'll be
How's
honest,
that?
right, I get the idea, and I think if it's a simplistic system, you know, that you're, town X, right, you cover town X and you do a little mutual aid of 13 calls a year or something out of town, I can kinda see it. Where I definitely have heartburn, and it's up to you to make the decision, but I'm the fire chief, I'll put my input in, is that idea, taxpayer versus resident, right? And so certainly my feeling would be, anybody that pays taxes would be eligible for said, right? Then that's.
And I would agree 100% with that.
But like that, from a managing that standpoint, will probably be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Right, because now it's going on and checking every property card, and then it's the Muffin Master 5,000 trust, and who knows if Sean's family are paying the bills or stuff, you know, like.
But
Nice call back.
isn't every resident a taxpayer in a way?
Yeah.
If they're paying rent,
Yeah.
right, they're funding the taxes.
Sounds like
So
a
I think
simple
if you went that way, you could just say residents, that's
Well,
fine.
resident or tax, and just forget I even said it.
Well, we're trying to, but.
But you keep talking about it.
There's probably not. What Scott said is something that comes up every now and then, right? Like, so when I was in the hospital last year, and Bangor, whichever they go by the hospital name, right? And they send me the bill for my deductible of $1,000. Hey, pay within 15 days, and it's $800 or $900, right? Well, I sent that check just as soon as I got that bill. I'll say $100 or $200.
Yeah.
I would say if we ever found ourselves again, certainly whether it was volume or back in that position where there was a lot of delayed collecting, and there is a lot of delayed, but a significant amount, that's certainly a program that would be on the table, right? To say, hey, your bill's due within this when you receive it, you know, if you pay it within 15 days, because there's always somebody who's got a deductible or copay or co-insurance, take 5% or take 10%. We're really not in that position. The people that are gonna pay are typically paying, and the people that aren't are going to collections and getting hassled by them, and that program works out really well, and we lose a little bit of that revenue. Anybody watching, please pay your bill and we get more of it, but it's worth it. Then it takes it out of our hands, and it's just a report every month and keeping an eye on things.
Okay. So I guess the only question that remains is whether we approve this or approve a larger amount.
Is 20% a reasonable amount?
Yeah,
so
there's part of me
if-
that
if
would
you-
still go, I think it's reasonable to go higher than the 15 even considering.
Yeah.
That said, right, like there's a bunch of threads right now, email threads, that there's other towns that are gonna be looking to increase their rates. So if you go 20%, it's probably when some of these other Grafton County towns adjust theirs, it's probably still roughly a 15% over, or, you know, it still keeps you in that average.
Yeah.
If you need an ambulance in Grafton County, you're gonna pay, you know, maybe it's $1,100 or something instead of $1,000 or whatever the math works out to.
So, wouldn't we just charge what it costs to do the job? We're not a profit, we're not for profit here, right?
No, we're not, but it's an offsetting revenue.
Right.
Irrelevant. What does it cost to send an ambulance out to do X, Y, Z call? That's what we charge a person.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, so the problem is it's a pretty standard practice in the medical profession, right?
Yeah.
Like, whether it's EMS or any level of doctor's office, is that you are kind of targeting, you know, either you're a private entity and you're really trying to target covering all your costs, Or you're like we are in our position, and we've never really said it, but effectively I kind of like that we've been able to transition and get revenues and all revenues, billing and the subsidies paid by the other towns to that over that 50% mark, right? So that we're paying for half of our budget is out of revenues. And so if you've got to do that, I totally lost my train of thought. I apologize.
There's a certain amount you have to charge above your.
But because
your
you know
needs
that you're
to
not
cover-
going to get everything back, you've got to kind of
Cover the things that you don't get paid for.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess that's what my thought is, we shouldn't be going over and above that. So this 20% would be in the range of what it costs to provide this service. Given everything you have to do, the whole ball of wax that you have to do,
Yeah.
the collections, what you may not get, what you get from insurance. I'm just trying to say,
You're trying to justify it, you're trying to make sure we're not being egregious, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
going overboard.
yes,
Yeah.
correct, thank you.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's higher, but it's higher again to kind of compensate for the Medicare reductions and kind of trying to meet that target of saying, we're going to be at roughly 50% revenue versus, better than 50% taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
And so again, we never really officially said that, but that's certainly something that I've watched for the last couple of years. And as we've broken that number, that to me is where I want to be. And certainly this kind of increase is what's going to keep us there.
Yep.
Because it's even at that 20% now, maybe it's $40,000, right? That it increases our revenue. Well, that's less than 4% of our budget.
Right.
So it maybe keeps you at that 49, 51, and that's a happy place to be at.
Okay, thank you.
What do you have any idea what the percentages of what revenues you do collect are from insured patients versus uninsured?
Yeah, so, the revenue collected from insured patients is 85+%, but within that, then overall payer mix, it's just shy of 60% is Medicare and Medicaid, right? So that's still insurance.
Right, but what you actually collect is a lot higher that are covered by insurance.
Yeah.
Medicare or Medicaid.
Or Medicare, or so uninsured. Let's.
Yeah, uninsured, it's only somewhere in that 5 to 10% ballpark, and then you have kind of another 5 to 10% that fall into the insured, they're underinsured or out of network or something like that. So it's right about 15% falls into that, and that still doesn't mean you don't collect that. You just collect a very small percentage of it, 30% or something like that of that little hole.
Because to Carol's point, I don't want to put the screws to our residences that are either uninsured or underinsured or for whatever reason,
And to be clear, there's a process for that. It is a process, unfortunately. It's not something that just happens. I don't just know if uninsured patient A, doesn't have a job or they're, on disability and they're low income or whatever. But there's a process and it's right on the bill to call into ComStar, get that hardship paperwork, and you gotta send it back. That's part of the process. And then I get it, and then we either set up a payment plan or we write it off by policy, if they meet those thresholds.
I mean, I think given, like Ben was saying, we're basing off of current rates, so I think that 5% takes into account our rates over the next few years too, and that way he doesn't have to come back to us on a yearly basis to do this. I mean, maybe it should be every 3 and not every 5, but.
Okay. Well, I think if that's your feeling, then you could make a motion that would say to adjust these to a 20% increase and authorize the town administrator to sign it.
Okay.
To sign.
I will make a motion, or can I just say so moved?
No.
Can I just ask real quick, a motion to the base rates of 20% and accept the $28 mileage fee and $75 care without transport fee.
Okay.
That would be really messy if we did it that way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Could we get that already?
Could you share
It's just wrong
Actually,
memory here.
Ben, can you authorize Ben to sign it? 'Cause I think-
Sure. Okay, let's see if I can get this all in one motion. All right, I'll make a motion to increase the Town of Bristol Fire Department 2023 rates to 20%, with the exception of mileage and care without transport, mileage to be at a rate of $28 per mile, and care without transport to be a flat fee of $75. With this to be giving the fire chief authorization to enact these changes, effective August 1st.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
Second by Scott. Any further discussion? Please, no.
No,
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, abstentions, thank you, that is 5-0. That's
All right.
number one.
Beautiful. So the reserve EMS program, half of Alexandria washed away, and we just haven't really dealt with any of that. So maybe at the next meeting, maybe the first meeting in August, I'll have more on that.
Okay.
So boat one replacement, I kind of talked to you about this a little bit at the last meeting. This is the offer that we got from West Shore Marine, which included a whole bunch of trades. It included the overall value of the boat is $12,500. That's the sale price that Greg is asking, which I believe to be fair for what the boat is. The trade was for the F550, $5,000 value. For the current boat one, $1,000, which I think is great. And also including in there was the Kaiser Jeep at $6,500. I certainly, based on the interest that we've had, whether it was for other trade opportunities or for price opportunities, don't believe that we should accept trading in the Kaiser for $6,500. I think there's a lot more value, either in monetary or product, to get out of that. And so that would not be my recommendation. I put on my paper that I would recommend trading the F550 in the boat, but that certainly we should have a discussion about that. I think my opinion is the used market's kind of coming back to reality, but that's a diesel, regular cab, short bodied pickup truck, diesel, right, that is in decent shape. It just doesn't work for the fire department's needs. And I think there's a whole lot more value than $5,000.
Yeah.
And so, I certainly would say that my hope would be that we would just put both of those trucks out to bid as we initially did, see what comes in for offers in all shapes and forms, I'm sure. But that so that boat is on the water right now. We're able to use it for the fireworks the other day.
Okay.
We're planning on using it for the swim of the mission next week, a week and a half from now. But certainly getting ownership transferred and starting to kind of outfit it with the stuff off the old boat would be huge. And so I guess if you agree with the fact that there's probably more value in that F550 would be to accept this purchase agreement with the $1,000 trade value for the current boat one. And then for the other $11,500 to come out of the fire department reserve account.
And you'll sell the other two vehicles.
Yeah, which I already have your permission to do.
Right.
We got them all to where you could have them at the station so people could come and view them, and now they're back out in plain sight. And so, what are you doing with this? I'd like to offer you a bunch of air packs or half a boat, whatever. And it just it was worth sitting on it a little bit longer to see what kind of value could be stirred up from that conversation. And that's the next one, right, would just be that if that's the way we're going, I'll get those bids posted and they'll be opened or whatever ahead of or at the first August selectmen's meeting or something, post it for about 30 days and see what we get.
All right. Is there a motion?
I make the motion that Well, this won't be the purchase agreement though.
No, not, so
The
my,
second paragraph of his, you could probably just read it.
Outside of the
Well, drafting the
F-550.
trade of the F-550, so you.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of the 1999 Tahiti 19 boat at $12,500. And that we accept the offered trade-in value of $1,000 for boat number 1. And that we do not accept the trade-in for the F-550 at $5,000 and the Kaiser Jeep at $6,500. And that we pay the balance of that, which would be $11,500.
from the fire department reserve.
Fire Department Reserve Fund.
Yep, good. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Purchase order. You should, I didn't know he had a purchase order, so you probably should add the
Sorry.
number.
Found a stack.
What's the number?
004756.
And adding purchase number 004756.
Second.
Second, okay. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions, that's 5-0.
And to authorize the town administrator to sign the purchase order? Is that all right?
A new motion to,
I'll make a motion to authorize the town administrator to sign the purchase order for the purchase of the, what's it called? Not the fire boat.
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead.
seconded by Scott. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, that's 5-0.
So I already hit the bids, and we can probably at least open discussion in non-public on the last item, if
Okay.
that's fine with you.
Yep.
Do you want this public safety building stuff now, or am I jumping the gun on that?
No, you might, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so the ledge change order was signed at the $26,000 number that the board approved, offered in their negotiations as allowed by the contract under change orders. The other one that's attached is a draft change order for the site lighting. So I brought this up a few times. Goodrum Electric did end up with the overall electrical bid, and we had to cut the site lighting out as part of the cuts and get to below budget. And that was a roughly $27,000 cut. Jeff has graciously offered to donate the lights, the poles, the cabling, the conduit, and the labor to install that, but would not, because he's not a dirt guy, accept the liability to do the trenching and then setting those concrete casts for the poles. That was it. So basically, roughly $16,000, at least as a reference from the cut list. So the cost that would be left to the town of Bristol would be $11,040 for the site work stuff. The cost for precast poles from like Phoenix Concrete or something, bases, and then there's OH&P, and that is part of it. For Gruen to have handled all that, and they're doing some of that work. So. It would be the Public Safety Building Committee's hope that we would approve this. It's obviously a huge and very helpful donation from Jeff. Unfortunately, it means a little bit more money, but if we don't really do it in the next couple of weeks here before we
It'll be
start
too late.
finish grading, then
It'll cost a lot
it's gonna cost more, yeah.
more to put it back in afterwards, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do we find the money?
Somewhere,
Interest.
hopefully.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Interest.
Okay.
Well, I think working back to the ledge CO, right, it's at least we know that it's there, you know, and then we can kind of continue to work around what they're finding for cost savings. Jeff's, the Gruen team as well, but Jeff in particular is doing a bang up job finding all sorts of ways to, you know, end up with probably a better product, but at a lesser price. And so hopefully some of the savings will be taken out of what Gruen's already working on and trying to fill some of those voids that still exist.
Yeah.
But it's that, I know that we want to keep that there, and I'd love to, as much as possible, have you guys use that offset next year's payment or whatever. But again, I think, it's certainly something that's needed. Some of that cost still gets expensed because you're gonna light it on the side of the building. Some of that's just changing money around. It's gonna make the site look better, and it's certainly the donations appreciated, and probably nothing we should shake a stick at.
Yeah.
Just so there is a little bit of ARPA money left, but I need to say, I've talked to Ben already, that has to be saved for another change order from another project
Okay.
that's arisen. And that hopefully will cover that other project. It was the transfer station cameras.
Yeah.
So, the plan had to change a little bit on that project, and there's gonna be a little bit more money.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Need a motion?
Is there a purchase order?
There's not, so
No.
this is just the
Okay.
draft, so you guys had a number to vote on, and they'll send the change order if you approve it, and then I'll sign it.
Okay.
just,
So we're approving the authorization of the change order.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the number of the change order?
We don't.
Change order number 5.
Yeah.
E0005 at the top here.
Make a motion to,
Oh, go
Can
ahead.
we do it?
No, go.
Sorry.
make a motion to approve, change order number 5 for the public safety building for site lighting in the amount of $11,040. Is that correct?
Yep.
To pull from.
To
You don't have to say
You don't
that.
have to.
Yeah, and I would wait for now to see what we.
Yeah.
saying things.
Only when it's coming from a capital reserve fund.
Specific, yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Scott.
Flip it.
Second by Scott. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Abstentions, nays, abstentions. So getting a little
So then,
pokey.
just real quick, bringing it up, obviously we had a ton of rain over the last week. When I was in at 12:30 in the morning, I didn't even want to put a light on the site. I just didn't want to know how bad it was. And it wasn't, thank goodness. So there was just a little bit of washing down of that bank, and they had only really laid like a few pieces of drainage. They've kind of done that construction a little bit different than they wanted to height-wise, so that they could not have to remove as much material from the back, still work from a position of safety. So it was one of those Friday, hey, let's see how this is gonna go, and they lost like 2 pieces of drainage pipe in the whole thing. So there was some pooling and washing around footings, but it didn't cause any problems underneath, and everything looked really good once the water either settled out or they pumped it out. So
Okay.
no big issues from that, thank goodness.
Great.
Back to the site lighting, we should send a letter of thank you or something.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So, I was gonna kid. No, because you pulled out of the bike path lighting, no I'm kidding. But
Jeff?
I'd rather he did it here.
Yeah.
So.
That's all I have
Okay.
for this, yeah.
Okay,
Um,
which letters
What, sorry.
for non-public?
Do you want to go into another non-public at the end of the night, or just do them all really quick at the same time and come back out?
We have,
I have a couple of things.
okay.
So do you want to go in with, to do Ben's and a couple of things that I have, which is the,
I think if we go into non-public, we should do it all.
at once. So I would do all 4 letters
Okay.
then.
So I'll entertain a motion to go into non-public session pursuant to NHRSA 91A32A, B, C, and D.
So moved.
Moved by Rob, second by Scott. Roll call vote. Rob?
Aye.
Scott? Aye. Carol,
Aye.
Sean, aye. Les, thank you. TA.
Make a motion to seal the non-public minutes of the
Second.
second non-public minutes of July 6th, indefinitely.
Second.
And that's definitely to render a proposed action ineffective, those words. I think that'd be good.
Second by Scott. All those in favor? Aye.
First thing is, the public safety building. I just, we did get $40,000 from Grafton County.
Saw that.
So we received the check, so I need to have a vote to accept the unanticipated, even though we applied for it.
Yeah.
The unanticipated funds for this. It will be used to offset I think you also have to probably vote to what it's being used, but it was applied for to offset the radiant flooring, so that we wouldn't take the full $107,000 out of the general fund.
Nice.
I'll make a motion to accept the unanticipated ARPA funds to be applied to offset the cost of the radiant floor heating for the public safety building.
Second.
Second by Scott. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That is 4-0.
The next one is the current fire station. We've been getting some contacts about what we're going to do with the building. So I'm bringing it back to the board to decide if you'd like us to start pursuing the potential sale. Of course, it would be purchase and sales, if we get to that point, would be conditional upon our building getting finished and the fire department moving out. But
Right. So my only question on that, I'm of the opinion that the town should not own that building. I think we should get that back on the tax roll, and if the town were to do anything with it, it would be a substantial investment to bring it up to something that we would need to use it for on a town level. That's my opinion, and I welcome others to have others, that's fine. My question is, how does that happen? Can you enter into a negotiation with a single entity? Do you have to put it to the public? How do we have a policy on disposal of public? I mean, we have a policy on disposal of property in terms of equipment and such.
Does that have to go to bid?
That's my question, does it?
So I know, I'd have to check and see what our towns voted on, what Bristol's voted on, because in other towns, they voted to allow you to sell it through a realtor. I don't think this town has done that, though. I think it's either by sealed bid or.
I
We've
remember,
sold to abutters before.
I remember, what's that?
We've sold to abutters before.
Yes, and I do remember that, but I do also remember, at least in one occasion, it being a bid.
Yeah, with a reserve number.
I was just gonna say,
Right.
can we place a reserve on that?
You can place you can do a bid and place a reserve number, what you want that number to be.
And there may only be one bidder.
Right,
Yeah.
so I can get the full process and make sure that we have it for your next meeting.
Yeah.
To determine and then we can determine how we wanna move forward with it for sure.
The only question I had, and unfortunately Les isn't here, is would the community center have any interest in that building whatsoever?
So they're building a new building though.
Right.
They've already purchased that property.
So,
I don't think they would, but I would, before we enter,
Yeah.
well, first of all, I agree with you. I think we need to find out what the process needs to be. Second of all, I don't think we should entertain anything until every single truck and piece of equipment is out of that building.
I would wait. I don't want to rush into it because I feel we could make use of that building. I mean, it would be a great place to vote, I think, and parking. What else could we do with it? There's other opportunities, but maybe as we evolve, it's fluid motion, and maybe something else evolves from it. I just don't want to rush into it and get rid of it because property's so hard to attain.
Yeah.
In this little town, so we have it. It's not costing us any.
I
So-
can't get into the
and-
maps right now, but I do believe there are 2 parcels there right now. I don't think we ever merged them. The parking is 1 parcel and, on the side, and then the rest of it with the fire station is the other parcel.
Because
So
that house
would
was
be-
torn down about, oh God, almost
Yeah.
20 years ago now.
So I don't believe we ever
It's gotta be
followed
more
through
than
with the
that, I don't
merger.
remember a house being in there.
Yeah, I would say it was early 2000s.
Huh.
My initial thought was settle it and get rid of it. Last week, a while ago, I think I brought this up before, someone mentioned, wouldn't it be good if my brain worked, a good senior center? And then we kind of talked about what would that cost to get that building into a senior center? And then last week, it must have been a community night, overheard a couple of people talking about, we should keep that building and do something with it. Well, it sounds simple, but.
Right, but I just,
My initial reaction is, let's sell it and get it on the tax roll, because it would.
Same here,
What's it
but
gonna cost us to make that into a garage kind of a building?
Right.
I think we could do a lot with volunteerism. I think
Yes.
there's, we could put there, if someone led the charge, there'd be a volunteer campaign. And maybe some other businesses jump on board. I mean, it's an opportunity to we could do concerts there, parking, voting, just make use of it.
it's also $7,500 a year in tax revenue too.
Potential.
Potential, yeah.
I mean, I'd like to, I'd like to,
I understand
I'd like
that,
to
but-
get some community feedback. and-
Yes,
Yeah.
I would do a community survey.
That's
I've
not
heard
bad.
probably 50-50
Why you
people I've
working?
talked to.
So, I mean, we have Survey Monkey, so we could certainly set something up
Yeah.
about how you get the word out, so that postcards cost money. We could do that,
The
like you did the
community page.
community survey.
Yeah, no, I
I
wouldn't
mean-
spend any money on
Yeah,
So we
no.
could, I mean, we could post
Digital.
it, put it
Digital.
on the Facebook page, those kinds of things, and see, and so options, we could make it so that they can pick options.
Yeah.
So, and then we could have another where they might be able to put
So-
recommendations in. You could say, do you think it should be sold, or if you don't think it should be sold, do you think, what kind of property do you think it should be used for? You know,
You-
senior center.
Yeah, we're gonna have numbers to go with that.
This would give the Plymouth, right, because I believe the senior center currently is ran through the Plymouth Senior Center, their branch, right? Is my understanding. So
I
maybe
think
that
they're
would,
coordinated
maybe
together.
reaching out to the Plymouth Center saying, hey, we have this opportunity possibly. Let them know, make them aware, because they're the ones that would take advantage of it, possibly.
I'll come up with some survey questions, bring it to the
Okay.
next meeting.
Maybe I post it on Facebook and have a link on the town website to
Yeah.
it, so, yeah.
And they had somebody say to me about the taxes, it's only,
It's 7,500, I don't think
Well,
it's a
right
lot.
now it's-
literally said it's only $7,500 a year, but.
Right, it's, yeah.
It's a matter of perspective.
It's a matter of perspective.
Yes.
Right.
Like I said, I'm not gonna hang my hat on it, I think it should be sold.
Yeah.
As minor as it should be, that was also one of the selling points
Yeah,
of combining the two departments was, the fire department will go back on the tax map. And that was said multiple times.
I don't think that was a big focus, I don't remember that part.
And I guess the
No one
other
ever
question would
focused
be,
on what we were gonna do with it.
do you consider selling off the one parcel if it can be built upon and keep the rest of it?
what would you?
I know, what would
Yeah.
you do with it? You would build a small house with no yard.
Well, it's not only the tax rate, it's we also get the chunk of money
Yeah,
for selling, obviously. Not, I know that's obvious, but that's.
So I'll bring some survey questions to the next meeting.
yep,
And then, so the one question I need to reach out to one of the people who contacted me, so I can let them know that.
we have not determined,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're
we have
not
not
making
determined a
final
final disposition of the building.
Right.
And if we do, it should be a bid process, I think.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I told John, I said that,
Yeah.
my impression was that it would have to be,
If we do it, I think we're doing due diligence.
Yeah.
and doing
I'd love to
taxpayers
call them
right.
right now.
Well,
So-
it's, so.
I know.
We're in public.
450. Yeah, sorry, yeah, gotcha.
Okay.
Not to mention, he's running a good business down there,
Yeah.
business is good for the town.
I agree 100%.
And I do have a concern, we're gonna potentially lose his business, so.
However.
Not that we would specifically sell the
Yeah, no.
property for this, but that's potentially what may happen, so.
Maybe someone could put some money into that building.
Yeah,
Caveat.
Someone could, I mean, there's
though.
some big investors downtown, maybe they wanna step up to the plate and give back to the community.
Oh, yeah, I was talking about the other building, but,
yeah.
yeah.
Alright,
Good, okay, anything else?
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
lots, sorry.
Oh.
Water sewer, just one, again, for the public, the wastewater treatment tours, the next one's July 19th, and
Did we
August
have one?
9th. What?
Did we have one yet?
We did, June, but
Did anyone show up?
I was supposed to show up. I had to, so there's like 4 of us that are signed up to go in July though, so
Okay.
we will have one in July. But July 19th, August 9th, they're 8 AM to noon, and you would meet at 180 Ayers Island Road, and the tour is approximately 4 hours.
And you will find out what the content of the Muffin Monster truly is.
Yes, you will know what the Muffin Monster is when you leave that tour.
And it's actually,
It is very.
I've done that
Jeff
tour
gave
when I
me
was
that
on the-
tour
yeah.
one-on-one, and it is a great,
I
really
got-
is a great tour.
Well, and I got a minor one-on-one tour
Yeah.
before, but this is supposed to be
Yeah.
not just.
I don't think we
Oh,
spent
people-
4 hours, but we spent a couple
Yeah.
hours. Yeah.
I did mine when I was on the budget committee.
Oh, yeah, it says it will be holding tours, not a 4-hour tour, so I was gonna say, I'd like to do that, but I don't
It
know.
is a 4 hour.
It is a 4 hour.
It is a
Is
4
it?
hour,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
why I
it's
was like,
18.
I'm not sure what,
It's not just down there. You take
I know,
So
yeah.
it's other
I
properties.
still think 4 hours is pretty long for them,
Mhm.
but, yeah. All right.
Number 2, asset management grant that we talked about and awarded to Underwood Engineers. We've gotten the final approval from Governor and Council. That came in yesterday, so we're moving forward with that.
Great.
That,
Odd that has to go to.
yeah. Baton Road water pressure, update so far. Jeff has raised the operating level of the tank, which should help with the matter some. He has reached out to DES for some guidance, and we've gotten a little bit of it back. I haven't read it yet, so.
Okay.
We're reaching out to Underwood Engineers to review the water modeling that was done, is one of the recommendations that came back. And then we should have another update for you at the July 20th meeting.
All right.
So they're working on it.
So it's strictly an issue on Baton Road, not the rest of Camelot Acres?
Just Baton Road.
Yeah, it's strange.
There's only certain, yeah.
Does it feed up from Willamette?
So where the branch was, oh, you weren't here for that one,
Yeah.
Jeff, the mapping. It's on the map and
So I
There
think
has
it
to be
feeds
some
up
kind of
from,
local problem.
it feeds up from, here, this is that, he just gave me that, so I haven't looked at it. Does that show you where it feeds up from, I think? So, I think it feeds up from from Camelot Acres.
there's a little bit of like.
You guys got my email, I get about 7 gallons per minute. I did a quick bucket.
So it feeds out from Tristan?
How much?
7 gallons a minute,
Yeah.
and that's way higher. than
Yeah.
those
Because I know the line comes in
Yeah.
Castle Lanes.
Yeah. Yeah, all these houses were fine, it's this right in here. So somewhere, there's a 3/4 inch line,
Just a
telling you,
quick
you're gonna find
question,
a 2x4.
is Ben aware of that?
Is that,
Or-
about the pressure?
Yeah.
I don't know, I can make sure.
Yeah, could we make sure, just because if there's flow
I
issues
gotta
down
tell you
there,
next
there is a
door.
fire.
Okay,
This is the hydrants, yeah, I'll mention it.
What's
to
that?
him. I didn't
The
think of
birdseed
that.
story.
So these people, if somebody flushed the, so one of the people that came in, someone flushed toilet, and someone was running water, and someone went to flush the toilet, you couldn't flush the toilet.
People keep having to replace their appliances because there's not enough water.
Oh yeah, the
Dishwashers.
dishwasher and washing machine.
Yep, not enough pressure.
So, Rob just brought up a good point, which, we should make sure Ben knows, because of the fire hydrants, I don't know if
Yeah.
those might have any pressure problems.
Jeff was gonna check those.
And it doesn't say,
I thought he said he would do a hydrant test. Didn't he say that?
He said he was gonna go out and do some pressure.
Some
testing.
kind of test, but I don't specifically.
I don't know what the size of that line, I think that's only a 6-inch line going down there.
so this is another update, he must have gave this to me late. It says, which I've already told you, that we've increased the tank operating level to provide additional pressure. He will be working with Underwood to review the water model. Our flow gauge failed during the flow test on the hydrant that affects Mr. Maggio's property. The reading we did get prior to failing was about 700 gallons per minute from the 2.5-inch hydrant nozzle.
That should be fine.
They will perform additional testing in the weeks to come once our flow gauge is replaced.
Yeah, I would just make them aware, like 700 gallons a minute's more than you get up on Crescent Street, so. that's
We
the
we
worst one.
really need to solve this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Post haste.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay, just a town administrator, just a reminder, I am on vacation, you already know that. Coming up, I will be, my emails will come through. So, for non-emergency things, I can respond or forward wherever it needs to go. Emergency coverage will be Jeff Chartier, he's agreed to it. He did say his first duty is he's firing the water and sewer superintendent.
That's what it is. Or give him a raise, whatever. No, can't do that.
He didn't say that, don't give him any ideas. Assessing items in your folders, there are things marked CAR, C-A-R, those are community action reports that are given to us by the Department of Revenue when they come out to do field work for us. Both of the CAR reports, they're both dated April 26th and June 19th, talk about the equalization study and the revaluation. And the work they did to review, the work they reviewed. They do refer to 2026 as the next reval date, which is inaccurate. And we reached out to them. We had to submit a letter requesting that they change it. So when we upped our last reval in 2020, we upped it to 2020, they kept their review date as 2021 and did a review of the assessing work at that time. So they did not change their reval. We had to specifically request that, so we've done that to fix it, to get them back in line with us, so.
So what date are we looking at?
We would be
Given
doing
all
a
that?
reevaluation in 2025.
Thank you.
Land use items, for these, some of these stem from your June 1st meeting. North Main Street campers, the land use is still working on this. Hall Road, we've already talked about that when Joanne was here. North Main Street property where the other camper was, I updated you that they did have a temporary camping permit, but now they have submitted an application to build their home. So they should, I believe that we'll have it issued by the end of the week. Or
is that the end of North Main?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll start seeing some work there. Summer Street, the vehicle issue that was previously reported, both Mike and Joanne are working and communicating with the property owner on the matter.
Which issue is that the truck that's sitting on the side of the road?
That, but there's more. There's a number of vehicles that you can't see from the road. We received an anonymous complaint. And when we went back and tried to look at aerials, and you can see them. You can't see how many. You can try to count them on the aerials. So they're working with the property owner. Finance items, where the operational audit is, the first part of it is complete. We're just waiting on the report. They finished all the interviews, and I provided job descriptions, so we should have the report hopefully before I get back from vacation. And the second part of the audit will start after I get back from vacation. Beach items. Just wanted to let you know that one of the beach barrels was pulled out of the pavement and removed from the beach. We have put in a
They
replacement.
screwed into the road now.
Yeah,
Seriously.
somebody
screwed
pulled
into the
them
road.
out. I don't know if they hid it and maybe wanted to take the evidence with them, or if they just
Didn't like it?
didn't like it.
Yeah.
So we put an old barrel and an old sign in just because we had wanted something in place, so.
Did we get that barrel back?
We don't know where it is.
Where
It
on,
might show up
where on the beach was it?
on the
On
road.
the road.
Yeah, but like what?
Oh, Avery Cross, I don't know.
Which one it was?
Which one it was.
The middle
There's-
one that's missing the sign.
The one that's the old one, when you go through. I did want to tell you too, that the Monday after the fireworks, and correct me if I say the wrong amount, Deb, there were 4 bags of garbage cleaned off of Avery Cross Beach.
Yeah.
Do we want to, may I interrupt, I already interrupted, may I continue to interrupt?
Yes, you may.
Do we want to talk about the beach sand?
Oh, I had that, so I did not have that in your first TA report, there's a second TA report. So we can skip ahead and talk about that. So we did the beach sampling on June 28th, it came back with elevated numbers. The numbers are under TA number 12, if you want to look at them. We sent Mike out today to retest because we didn't get the numbers till yesterday afternoon. We sent him out to have it retested today. I've asked them to call me with the results tomorrow. So the concern, obviously it was in the middle of the highest rain issues and erosion issues. The numbers are high.
They're not, they're higher than the standard, but they're not outrageous. I mean,
So depending on what tomorrow's results come back as, if the results are the same,
yeah.
then we will be posting the beach.
And Christine and I talked about this, and I
But
recommend.
it will be an advisory posted,
Yeah.
There's a specific sign. I've already talked to Deb. We haven't put these out to, because we want to make sure that the testing is accurate. It could be because of the erosion and high water at the time.
Yeah, so I went out with Mike to sample, and we had the conversation. The water's cloudy, we know there's been, who knows how much silt and dirt and whatever put into the lake during the storm.
Overflowed,
So you can opt to say, I'm not gonna sample today.
He did say today when he went out, it was much clearer,
Yes,
much clearer.
and he and I talked about this, and I made the conscious decision to go ahead and take the samples. Because you should never try to, if you're taking a representative sample, you shouldn't try to change that based on
Right.
trying to make it what you want it to be.
Exactly.
So we decided to go ahead and
In
we
any
talked about
sampling
it.
situation.
Correct, right, knowing that it was going to be high, because you get coliform bacteria from the ground and from animals and so knowing it was gonna be high.
What's the parameters?
I can tell you.
What's the number now? 88?
So for one test, so the 3, that would be considered one event test. If you have more than 2 of the test results over 88 mpm, then you're supposed to issue an advisory. If you have 1 of the 3 tests come out at 158 or higher, then you're supposed to issue an advisory. They did not call us to tell us to do this, issue an advisory. They just mailed the results to us, and we just got them yesterday.
So next step from an advisory would be a closure?
We would, if we come back with results tomorrow, it would be an advisory. I would have to find out when we would close.
So are there higher limits for closure?
I think so.
I don't know what the number is. But beaches can be closed for bacteria.
And which bacteria?
E. coli?
So E. coli is used because we have, each of us have millions of E. coli in our intestines. So however, there's also a strain of E. coli that's on the ground. There's E. coli that come from warm-blooded animals. So it's an indicator, that's what they call it, it's an indicator that there could be a source of human fecal material. It's not a guarantee, it tells you you should start looking. But if the number is elevated to some outrageous number, then you definitely have to look at it.
It's interesting that Cummings is higher than Avery.
Yeah, it is. We thought so. Cummings was higher.
So, for example, if you were going up and down a stream, so this stream shows high E. coli bacteria, you're gonna go out and look, so what's a beaver dam over here, and you're gonna sample above and below that, and or you might do a sanitary survey, is there a raw pipe coming from somebody's house? So they knew it was gonna be high, but made the conscious decision not to, not sample that day, so.
So,
I guessed it was gonna be high.
we wouldn't close according to this. It would just be, you would post it with an advisory until you come back with a better sampling.
Right.
And then closing would be something like algae blooms or,
Cyanobacteria.
yeah, those are when we would close.
There's, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8 cyanobacteria closings in the state right now.
Yeah, those are, I
But
don't
those-
think we'll ever have to worry about that with them.
So-
Usually Laconia there, right in the,
OPG, yeah.
LPG, yeah.
And Bartlett.
Well, that's usually E. coli there, it's
Is it?
not. So the algae bloom ones are Sunrise Lake, Canasaka, Merry Meeting, Merry Meeting,
yeah.
Durham.
Yeah.
And there's a few down in the southern part of the state.
So, we'll know more when we get the test results. I'll get them in voicemail, come right to my phone.
Yeah.
So, and Deb's on alert, so if something comes up, we need to post, we would make sure everybody knew, so.
So the positive piece of this is that I showed Mike how to do this,
Oh, great.
and he went on, did it on his own.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, and we were able to send, we sent him right out today, he's got a little cooler, and he brings it down to the state for us, so.
Okay. On the subject of the beach, while we're talking about it, I did receive a phone call from a resident at the beach concerned about the signage. Told him
That
that
was
we.
in your TA report last week.
Yep,
Yep.
told him that we would discuss. He said, mentioned the, there is a sign at that there should be that missing sign somewhere in stock.
The missing sign is destroyed according to highway, and they can't be replaced.
Okay.
What signs are these, the rules?
Yeah, the rules
and
and
regulations that are gonna be
So,
starting.
currently on Avery Cross, there's a sign at the beginning of the beach and a sign at the end.
Yeah.
The one that's missing, and correct me Deb if I'm wrong, is in, well, no, we moved the middle one to the beginning because that was the one that was missing.
Right.
So we covered
I'm
both
just
ends.
telling you of a conversation that
Yeah.
I had. Yeah.
And we did remove one at Cummings, so there's only one in the upper parking lot of Cummings Beach. And Deb, how many are at the lower parking lot? Is it only one? I'm putting her on the spot. Okay, so I think there's only one in the lower Cummings Beach too. Oh, there she goes. Go ahead, Deb.
There are 2 at Cummings Beach, one in the lower parking lot and one in the upper parking lot. There are 2 at Avery Beach, one at the beginning of the beach, one at the end of the beach. We removed the middle sign to put the ordinances down at the beginning of the beach.
Yeah.
And the sign that was picked up by the highway department this winter, they are claiming it was totally destroyed and not usable.
Okay.
So we didn't want to order another one yet because we have another
Yeah.
conversation at the
Yeah.
end of the season. So,
That was the gist of the
Okay.
conversation, so.
So how did it get destroyed?
pick it by the plow or wind or
yeah.
something like that.
And we're in the middle of changing some of those ordinances, so we
Potentially,
didn't.
yeah.
Potentially, so we didn't want to order a sign for a couple of months.
So that's why we moved the one from the middle to the beginning, so that we covered beginning and end of the beaches.
I think we're covered.
Okay.
Can I,
Right.
well, quickly, in order to maybe possibly not have to order all of those signs for next year, we also talked about possibly the select board thinking about once new permits were issued next January, that every permit has the ordinances attached to it.
Oh, I think that should be done regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, Deb.
that's a good idea. Yep.
Yep. Okay.
To raise the beach fee to 10.05.
Okay, so,
It's not, and you can't only got 2 trucks, so sorry.
I just, since we don't meet again, I'll touch base on the library before this event. So the library has a Touch a Truck event at Kelly Park on July 12th. Concert scheduled for anybody watching, they are Thursdays from June 29th is when they started, and they go through till August 24th. I was gonna announce tonight's, but it's done.
What was the one last night?
The last night was the Army Band.
Okay, those are quite a few people there for that.
And then tonight was the Michael Vincent Band. So Les isn't here, so I'll read the next ones. I was gonna let her do them. But Community Night Out was held on June 29th. It was very well attended. I wanted to put a thank you out to the food sponsor Main Street Station and to all the volunteers. Main Street Station donated the food, and
Nice.
we ran out of food.
There was food down there?
So the town did host a volunteer booth, and I wanted to also thank the board, commission, committee members. We solicited out, invited them to attend, to help manage the booth and be there to answer questions if there were any. And Richard LaFlamme, Lorraine Bowmiller, John Miller, Dorcas Gordon, Bruce Dorner, Richard Metcalf, and Richard Batchelder. They're all range from Economic Development Committee, Planning Board, Zoning Board, Historic District, and Conservation Commission.
Great.
I also want to extend a thank you to Joanne Bailey. She volunteered and helped set up. And then if you look, we did create a banner, which we're going to use going forward for other events, and that is under TA5 if you want to take a look at it if you didn't see it at the event. I also put it up at the fireworks. So, but we made it generic so that we could use it for other events as well.
I would add the Sustainability Committee had a,
Oh, that's right, so they had their own booth, yeah.
Yep.
How come we didn't put the town seal or anything on it?
I didn't put anything town seal or anything, because if the town seal ever changed in the future, I don't wanna have to go buy a new banner.
Fair enough.
But the good news is, we had signs made for the public safety building opening, which were the seal, and those were on either side of that,
Okay.
so we use those signs.
Okay.
So we can, we use the signs at both the community night out and the fireworks event with the seal on it, so. Fireworks, it started off with slow attendance, but the event filled up. I want to say thank you to the Lions Club, the Tracy Girl Ice Cream Truck, and Carol Brown, and Eternal Flame for participating. Eternal Flame, if you didn't get to see them, was an LED light show. I also want to say thank you to the Fireworks Committee, Jamie Moulton, Ben LaRoche, Les Dine, Chris Bean, and Victor Greenwood. Thank you also to the police, fire, and highway coverage for the event. Even though the fireworks were not high in the sky, it was a good event and a great show, or a good show. I also want to add a thank you to my daughter Cassandra McClay, because she helped set up and she also helped clean up. So.
Thank you very, very much.
And I want to thank the cameraman for posting videos on Facebook Live. That was great. Cause
I did it.
Yes, I know that. I was thanking you.
No, you were
Camera
thanking me. I did the live events.
I know you did. I'm
Okay.
thanking you.
I was gonna say, did you see the parade one?
he thought you didn't want your name mentioned,
Okay,
was the
that's
point.
right. No, the parade one's
I was just
fun.
trying to be funny.
Right.
Yeah. Parade, I've heard all good comments about the 4th of July parade. There were a lot of people in attendance. It was quite a few people.
A busy week.
And a good sized parade. I want to thank the events committee for coordinating the event, thank the police and fire for participation in traffic control. The parade couldn't have been done without their hard work. Again, I want to thank Cassandra and her friend Anna for helping with registrations. They helped Carol do with the registrations and announcing and keeping us on track for the winners. Although, if you watch the video, there was a point where the kids scared the crap out of me, and my video went from like this to this. So, because they were really close to
I couldn't believe how many people were out considering the chance of rain.
I know, it was packed. Household Hazardous Waste Day is Saturday, August 5th. I did reach out to Tom Keegan He reports that they have a good volunteer group, and they do, because there are different groups that have come in to pick up the signs already, and he's looking for some copying from each town. We've already done ours and given them back to them, and he will update the board should he need any additional help as the event's closer. And his email's under TA6 if you want to take a look at it. Touch that one, we can wait until next week. Goal setting. We wanted goal setting back in this meeting to discuss when we would set up a workshop from our last session. I'm recommending that the board wait until September to review, and I will do a preliminary review and discussion with department heads at their August meeting, if you agree to that. Good.
I'm okay with that.
All committees meeting, I spoke, two updates, one's on my new list. I've spoken with Bruce Dorner, he agreed to be the moderator. Bruce talked about a survey of committee and board members, which I do believe is a great idea. We developed 3 questions. The three questions are, what are the 3 greatest obstacles for your committee, board, commission? I'll fix the wording. That your committee, board, or commission is facing. What are the 3 things the town could do better to help you accomplish your goals and objectives? And what are your top 3 priorities for 2023 for your committee, board, or commission? A separate survey will be directed to each committee, commission, board. They'll be created so that each committee, so for instance, the planning board, would get one selected survey, so we know we're getting planning board responses, and we know we'll get responses from more members than just the chair, so we'll get a full representation of the board. I just use the planning board as an example, by the way. Our thoughts were the survey will be out in July, and all committee meeting will be scheduled for August. It may get pushed back depending on when I can actually finish the survey and get that out. So, and there's a letter under TA14, which Bruce Dorner had created the letter for an introduction to the survey, which is great. So we'll use that introduction, that letter under TA14, because we don't have any concerns with that process.
No, I think that's great.
Under communications, we received an additional call on the complaint regarding the new lighting downtown. With that said, I do feel in the last meeting it said we took no action, so I'm asking the board take a look at the pictures I put in your folders. Under TA8, there's the new LED lighting and then the original lighting picture, and that you come out and put your opinion in writing so that I can close the loop on this completely. In the minutes,
The complaint is, again, from last time, that they're too small.
that they're not correct, they're not the correct lighting for the poles, that we should go back to the old lighting because it looked better.
Well, it's not gonna happen.
Yes.
They're cut off.
I also received correspondence from the complainant, and I hadn't gotten back to him until today. But we're just playing tag at the moment, so I haven't had a conversation with him.
Can you, what does it mean they're not the correct lights for the pole? I'm not sure, right?
He's saying that he felt that the lighting was not made for the poles and disappointed that the board approved. He felt that they look off, do not fit, and he would like the board to consider something else.
Is he paying for them? You want to pay for a replacement?
I mean,
I think it's the consensus of the board that
Right.
we're not gonna go backwards on the project.
and we did also before, we brought the lighting to the board before we did it. We also brought it to the historical group and the downtown decorating committee, and they thought they thought they were good too. So we didn't just make the decision ourselves to do it. We did involve other input.
Yes.
But I just wanted to make sure so I can close the loop.
Okay.
Okay. Butter notifications, they're under TA9. We have, we're butters to a property that will apply for a special use permit. They are a leach field within a 125-foot setback. a variance for violating the side setback on the boundary. Their property is gonna be 10 feet from the boundary instead of the required 15. And a special exception because they're increasing the ridge line of the building by more than a foot. It's 146 Shore Drive.
Yeah, it's the first one
But
after the big
Big
catch.
Cache, yeah.
And they're sandwiched right in there.
Yeah, there's no room really. This Conservation Commission did review it last night, and felt that they were recommending to approve it to the planning board for the special use permit. It will go to the zoning board for the other 2 items, so. NLRA submitted a thank you under TA 10. They thanked the town for their partnership and its support, so. July recognition, I just wanted to update you, there are no July recognition. Would you believe that we have no employees 5 years or higher that were started in July, so.
That's interesting.
Grafton County Senior Citizen Council under TA 13 sent you a thank you card for approving their funding request. The town's continued support assists the council in providing services for the older residents of Bristol.
Yep.
Mooney Clark Landing. I spoke with Garrett Grasscamp, Fish and Game Boat Access Coordinator, on Friday last week. He advised that they are looking to establish a committee that will discuss and review the transfer of Mooney Clark Landing. That's one of the first steps in the process. Bill Dowie, Ned Gordon, and I were proposed to be on the committee. Once we've confirmed participation, then the council submits our names to the governor to approve. Once approved, the committee begins meeting, and then recommendation will go forward to be approved next. So that's where we're at on that project. With that said, we have also been contacted by the hydro attorney. Under TA 15, there are emails for you. I reached out to legal to confirm the town's next steps, since it appears there are 2 different processes started, but both parties wanting to accomplish the same thing. The hydro, originally when we met with them previously, when Nick was here, told us they didn't own it. And when we did the research with the legal opinion, our attorney believed that we did own it. Our utility appraiser also believes that we do own it. So we changed the property ownership to the town until we could get it transferred to Fish and Game. We didn't feel we should be billing the hydro for taxes on a property that they didn't believe they owned and we didn't believe we owned. If you look at the attorney response.
They want flowage rights.
Yeah, they're talking about flowage rights and they're claiming that they've started a deed transfer. I've asked Christine how this will
Deed transfer.
of them transferring, the hydro transferring it to Fish and Game. So I've asked Christine, how does this affect anything? What should we do at this point? Because I want to make sure there's no problem with transfer of titles.
If they want to do the transfer.
Right, if
do
they
it.
want to do it all fine.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to get messed up because Christine was pretty sure that it was the town that reverted back to on the road to public waters when we went through this. I have the attorney opinion from that. So I just wanted to let you know where we were at. We're looking into what the next steps are for us, or if we do anything at all, or continue our process, so.
It's interesting, a lot of the hydro companies like to own these and maintain them because it's PR. It's PR for them, and they
All around the Warren County.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. Huh.
Hopkins Tank, we opened an incident for the Ernest Hopkins Tank on North Main Street. It got, we believe it's about $3,000 in damage. We got hit, last week's storm on Sunday night. It took them a week to figure out kind of what it was. The telemetry controls for the well and tank level weren't working, and they believe it got hit by lightning. So we've opened a claim. Whether it'll get paid for or not is to be determined. There's it's not funny, but it is. While I was opening a claim, there was another town that had the same thing happen to them. So they were opening the same claim, so.
We're lucky we didn't get more
Yeah.
Just cemetery trustees, we posted, I kind of let that slip through the cracks. I posted that there's an open position. If anybody's interested in the position, they should submit an application to serve on a board or committee. This, I would have them meet with the cemetery trustees, but this board would appoint them and they would be appointed to serve the remainder of the term that's open.
Okay.
Budget committee has an open position. We've just posted, interested applicants should submit their name. We did receive one candidate. The budget committee will hold the interviews and they are the appointing party. They will appoint whoever they select. It would only be through, March with this person. No, I have a line blank.
Well, we knew going in, right,
Some-
because
Yeah, so so they had two open positions, only one was
only one.
ran for it.
Yeah.
So they have to interview for that.
So
And
nobody,
then the
no
write-in.
one left?
Not yet, May, but not yet. I don't know. I don't have any new reports on one of the members.
The write-ins refused to.
So the write-ins, no, you can't do it that way. We found out. So you can't use, on other positions, you go to your write-ins.
Yeah.
But we found out you can't do that. You have to hold interviews and appoint, the budget committee appoints them.
That's interesting because I
They did it wrong.
a write-in and,
So they did do it wrong, but previously they found out.
I was appointed my first year.
Or did you interview and appointed the
Yeah, I
budget?
remember going to the board,
yes.
the
So-
committee.
We do have one submissions, he came in before I even posted it, so I'm just emailed Paul to find out how long he wants to leave the window open. And then I'll add that date to the posting. We will be posting, transfer station attendant, you'll have a
I saw
resignation at the next meeting.
a
Somebody, one of the attendants has resigned, I don't know the date yet, but we'll have a PAF for you at the next meeting, and we'll be posting, for transfer station attendant.
Okay.
Shared assistant, the position for Raina's office and budget technically, they interviewed today, and they were both very excited about the candidate.
Good.
They're gonna do a conditional offer and we should have something for you at the next meeting. The person can't start till August anyway if they accept the position, so we'll have time to review it at the July 20th meeting. Fire department, PAF, conditional offer was issued, for Gerald DeRosa. And he would be reclassified from part-time to full-time.
No, I think we're,
In public, you probably should make a, but you probably should make an
okay,
approve him.
yeah, go ahead.
Make a motion to approve personal action on Gerald DeRosa, dated July 6, 2023, to
Change from call to,
change to on-call to, where is it? Full-time. And then the pay, at
Great, you would just do the grade.
the gray area, right here.
Yeah.
Position of further subject, there's a
No,
couple gray areas.
on the
All right.
PAF, sorry,
Should be able to.
does it say? But sorry, remember the fire department won't be on the grades correctly?
Right.
For 2 years, so we would just appoint.
That rate,
It says grade 13, step 1.
Yeah.
Rate of 18.31 an hour.
at a rate of 18.31 an hour,
Got that.
to start with the 90-day initial review period.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rob. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, abstentions, that is 4-0.
We also have an appointment for an alternate for the planning board.
Yep.
I apologize, your name is spelled wrong, but
I could care less.
we do need to
That is-
motion that. Approved.
after 51 years of,
Make a motion to appoint Stephen Carton to the position of alternate planning board member,
I'll second that.
effective immediately.
okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, abstentions, that's 4-0.
Rayma has given me, an abatement request.
Okay,
The reason for the abatement request is that the address when, this person hasn't lived there lived at the address that the system went back to for 6 years. There is a problem and they're trying to find out what happened, because it's happened to more than one person. It's gone to an old address. So they're going to be working with our Avatar program and the company to try and determine what's causing the issue. So the abatement amount is for the interest of $68.90. It would need to be motioned, and you can sign anywhere on the bottom if you approve it.
did this come in after you
It
finalized it?
Yeah.
I'd make a motion, but I don't know what I'm making a motion on.
Oh, just the highlighted dollar amount. You're motioning to approve the abatement for the 67.
What's the address?
Oh, no, just this. You're just gonna,
We don't
sorry.
need a lot.
So you're just gonna say I motion to approve the abatement for map 102.01?
Okay,
Oh, for that amount.
okay, I'll make a motion to approve the abatement for map lot number 102-001-010 in the amount of $68.90.
I'll second.
Motion and seconded, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
that is 4-0.
And I just have a quick question on, I know, I've been talking all night.
Here she
Town
comes
sign-
again.
Town signage.
Yep,
So we have the last two signs and we did encumber some money to go towards those last two signs. But do you know ownership of those last two signs?
ownership?
Yeah, I don't know if you know,
What signs?
the last two signs, I can't pull it up on the screen, but.
So we have,
So we have one of the old new signs that we replaced has to be repaired.
yeah,
It's gonna cost, so it's gonna cost probably the same amount of money to repair it as it is for these other two new signs. It was, so according to the company that I've worked with, they are saying that, it wasn't done right.
What signs are we talking about?
And the the Welcome to Bristol's Newfound
sorry.
Lake. So.
oh, the fish and the deer signs, is that what we're talking about?
The fish sign is the one that's, if you look closely, it's starting to come apart.
That's the one by the lake?
Yep.
Yeah, so,
Cause it's on plywood.
I think it'll be fine for a little longer. But, the other two signs that are old and really are in need of being repaired are South Main Street and North Main Street. I don't have a front picture. So those are the ones that, those are the ones that say Lion Rotary, home of the New Hampshire Marathon.
Oh.
And, those two signs are the last two to be replaced. The new signs that you see of the fish and the deer replaced those signs originally.
Where's the one on North Main?
I was gonna ask, but I hated
Not
to
North
ask.
Main, I meant, sorry.
South Main.
So South Main and 104.
Oh, okay.
That was my fault, I said the wrong thing. Sorry.
So South Main was, right?
South Main is also.
South Main is at the top.
Mm-hmm, it's up in the corner.
Is that the one where there's a dispute over it being on private property?
No, I think it's the granite one. Do we have a granite one on South Main too?
The one I know on South Main is the one at the house.
So it is the one that's being disputed, then we probably should leave that one alone. They haven't come to us yet
Yes.
I didn't hear about that, it wasn't in.
on Facebook.
Oh, see, I haven't seen that. We probably should not talk too much about that in open.
Right.
But I am open to working something out with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So So we have the money, to use, but I need to make sure who owns these signs, if the town does or not. I was hoping Les would be here for this part, so I can reach out to Les to see if she knows if those are Rotary signs. Obviously, we did something.
Those are town signs. We've already, we
Right.
pay, I remember my last time on the board, paying the original artist to redo them.
The
The Welcome to Bristol ones. Yeah,
And these need some work.
yeah.
They're in rough shape, the two that are left. I am not recommending any animals. I'm
Yeah.
not recommending any side panel, and I'm not recommending any circles. Just getting the red basics, because they're expensive
Yeah.
to replace. And she said if we do just the size that's already there, it won't cost as much, because the size that we put up costs more because it takes an extra panel.
In different posts.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get the quote fine tuned, but if we're definitely sure that ours, we're gonna reuse the posts,
Yeah.
save some money and just replace the sign itself. So, okay,
Makes sense.
great, and we're good, that's it for me, I think.
Okay.
That's all you got?
I got plenty.
Selectmen items. Rob?
Did you ever bring up the issue with Ian Schaefer? You ever bring that up to the board?
About the road?
Yeah.
Which part?
So he shared with this with me, and I wasn't at the last meeting.
Oh, about the flags.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not yet. That's good. Thank you for the reminder.
I can read the text message from him if you want.
No, that's fine. I can. So, if memory serves, when we just regraded. Of course, it took some water damage, but we regraded that road back to something close to existing, to what was previously its width before it had been encroached on by the abutting landowner.
Yes.
Part of our agreement previously with said landowner was to remove the, basically like plowing markers.
Little bits or.
Yeah, but he's put them back, so we need to send a letter.
I just sent you a text, the screenshot of the text message conversation.
And I have the old letter, so I'll just recreate the one that I
Okay.
have, so, okay, thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, I haven't seen or spoken to Ian since, but.
No.
And I meant to go up there and look at it, and I never had a chance to, so. Or should I say, I just forgot.
Yeah, me too. I did check the area after all of the flooding, and I noticed that the work that would get done hadn't been totally destroyed, but it was beat up a little bit. So, all right, anything else? Rob?
That's it for me.
Okay, Scott?
Planning board is pretty quiet, if I remember. I brought home the agenda so I could speak to it, and I left it at home. It was, so we met Steve. Steve had come in and expressed interest.
We met with resilience planning.
Liz, Kelly, yeah, and we discussed where we're moving forward with the
Steep slopes.
steep slopes mapping and projects.
And also they submitted a recommendation. We had asked for a proposal about re-reviewing the land use chapter that we got from NLRA. Because the vision chapter we got from NLRA was not written well and we had to rewrite it.
Right.
So the land use chapter is pretty good, it has some really good bones to it, but it's still gonna cost some more money to finalize it. And they did we hired resilience planning to do the independent analysis of the survey.
Okay.
So, so they've been directed to see if, what amount of work they can do for the amount we have budgeted, because their costs are more than we have budgeted for the master plan this year, so, we'll have more information later.
And then we redid the priority sheet
Yeah, they added a priority,
they modified
to
that?
change the rural district. They want to change the
Zoning.
minimum lot size,
Yeah,
On
right,
rural
I
district.
remember, yeah, you talked
and
about it.
increase it,
Increase the minimum lot size?
requirement, yeah.
Wow.
For subdivisions in there.
Huh.
And part of, I think that was more for, it was, no, I can't remember.
Was it rural residential?
Rural,
Yeah,
I think it was just rural, that they want to increase it to an 80,000 square foot minimum lot size.
We could always do like New London, go to 5 acres.
Yeah. And then we had the
Make Dunkin'
PCC,
Donuts look like a house.
we had the PCC for, should I say the name?
Uh-huh.
For Mr. Sellers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was trying to get an idea for his land. He was looking for the planning board for ideas, if we had any feedback for him on what he could do with his land. But he was hoping to set up an RV that he had bought and then also make use of it, but then also rent it out as an Airbnb.
Yeah.
So, but other than that,
was the opinion that
Can't happen.
can't happen?
he'd have to go through the zone, get a variance from the zoning board.
Okay.
So, campers
Is-
can't be considered residential living, and the requirement of short-term rental is it has to be residential living.
Okay. Is there currently one being used for that on 3A? Across from Hiltz?
Not sure. We have addressed it.
Okay.
We believe so, but we can't prove.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's an interesting place where zoning doesn't make sense. One way, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because
So
you
he's,
could have a several hundred, you could build a little tiny, teeny weeny cabin there of what square footage, and it would be okay.
He can't,
Yes.
it's unattached, he can't, unless he gets a variance anyway.
All right,
But
unless you
because-
put a walkway between, let's not.
No.
Right,
A
Let's-
permanent
he's-
covered walkway, no big deal.
yeah, so he's
You
abutting,
just made my point. Right, my point.
so he's
Sorry.
abutting two different zones.
So he's,
So he goes to the more stringent zone, which
But the campers-
is village residential.
Village residential is the stricter of the two,
Yeah.
he's a split lot, and so half of it's in rural, half of it's in village. The stricter of the rules applies.
yeah.
But both of you are making my point.
Mm-hmm.
Zoning, this is what happens with zoning. Because you have to choose property lines, and you have to set areas, and sometimes it doesn't make sense for people. And then you have to say, here's what it says, this is what I'm gonna do.
And we
Which is fair
can't,
to you, I mean,
we
but
can't arbitrarily choose not to enforce it, because that's what the zoning ordinance says. So it can be fixed by the planning board or by petition.
Yeah. So, but to flog a dead horse, people who own a cottage at the lake can rent it out to anybody they want,
They can, because they're allowed to by the zoning ordinance.
but that doesn't seem fair to me. My
But a
point being,
camper is not residential living.
I don't care what you call it, it's just because it's defined that way in our zoning ordinance.
And
Not what you
by-
call it, no.
It can't be, a camper cannot be used for permanent living quarters.
Except if you're at a campground.
If you're in a campground. No, you can't. And a
It's not
campground-
year-round.
Campground's not year-round.
Well, I
And you
know, but
can't
you're-
claim residency at a campground.
Yes, you're continually
Right.
making the point for me.
And
No, that's a state law, not, that's.
No, I'm just saying,
But
it doesn't make sense. It
that's
doesn't
a
make
state
sense.
law.
yeah, and then wasn't it also because of multiple structures on the, right?
Yeah, it can't be unattached. And they're talking about relooking at the unattached versus attached. But that won't be done this year. They have too many other priorities.
And you can't subdivide because there's no access to the back lot. So if you could have subdivided, then you could build a separate structure on that separate lot, and it's tricky.
And when I was doing the work, I did approach the planning board because I felt they should fix the split lots.
Yeah.
But they don't want to, they've chosen not to address that this time.
So to really flog a dead horse until it's really dead, my camper that's sitting in my driveway, we're not gonna rent it out to anybody. My wife's like, no way you're doing that. If our kids come up for 2 weeks with their grandchildren and the 4 of them stay there, is that okay?
You can stay, family, and you can stay in the camper up to 90 days.
Never mind, let's talk about this later.
But if they pay you,
But if they pay
if
you,
they
you're out
pay
of
you,
luck.
then you can't do it.
That's not happening, you know? Oh, boy, you know that, sorry.
Oh,
This all makes those, these things bother me, let's talk about it another
We've
time.
tried to fix it a few times and it just keeps getting worse, so,
I think that's it for planning board.
yeah, I think
That
so.
covered everything.
They-
Don's, John is really, or
He's gotten better.
He's expressed
He did
with-
good.
wanting that meeting, the multi-committee
Oh,
meeting.
yeah. We didn't elaborate what we were doing yet with the multi-committee, and I will. I most likely will be attending by Zoom next week while I'm on vacation because I'll explain later. But I'm not sure, I won't be attending both meetings, so they're gonna flag it out at the zoning meeting. There's 4 cases in zoning, so.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a long one.
They are gonna have a long one, yes. Sorry.
Okay.
So, real quick, Conservation Commission, we've had our first, well, the land use folks did, they came to us, the first challenge to the wetlands overlay.
Oh, interesting.
And all it did was bring up a lot of questions.
At Fowler River?
No,
Geneseo Hill? Was it Geneseo? No.
up by you, the big piece,
It's in my bag. So we had 2 last night.
Adjoining
You
the
had
Bennett
2.
wetland?
So you had 2. You had one on Hemlock Brook Road.
Yeah.
And that was very well done, except for a couple of things that were missing off the plans. Test pits.
yeah, so without getting into details, we at the Conservation Commission are gonna really work on rewriting that, because it just brought up so many questions. In the ordinance, it says they will redefine, they'll have a wetland scientist come in and redefine the wetlands for the property, which in this case is 30 acres or whatever it is.
Right.
And all they're trying to do is redefine it right where the driveway is. It's obviously, it appears to be obviously not. And then, do we make them
Autocorrect is bad.
define the edge of the wetland, or do they just have to say it's not a wetland within 20 feet of where I want to work?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions, and we're gonna try to work with planning to put forward something in the warrant to change it. So
Okay.
simple, keep it simple at this time. I'm on vacation, we're leaving Monday, we'll be gone for 28 days to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. Knock on wood, everything's going, I will do my best to zoom in, depending on campground internet, which is,
Yeah.
yeah. That's all.
Okay. I had the two communications from the public. I touched base with you earlier last week. I think that's what I have.
Oh, yeah, we did tour, took a little ride on the hills on Saturday,
Yeah.
so
So
they did some more work, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I did want to throw out to thank the road crew, the town crew. Upper Birch was closed,
Yeah.
we couldn't get out, and they were there right, it was by 9 o'clock we could get out, so. And to thank them for letting me drive on the closed roads all day, going back and forth, instead of driving around Cass Mill Road.
Yeah, they did an amazing amount of
Yeah.
work, and
Yeah.
you know, they got their share of love on Facebook, which I appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did we want to bring them in to your next meeting to recognize them for? Or-
I kind of hate to bring people in.
Can we buy them donuts or something?
Yeah, let's talk about, you and I
Buy him some pizzas.
Yeah, we'll talk about,
Okay.
Buy lunch.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
I hate to bring them in.
Yeah.
In the
Have you-
evening if they don't have to be.
Any feedback on the fireworks?
Some positive, some negative.
Yeah.
I've heard both ways.
I don't,
Yeah.
they were not, I was not impressed.
Which we advertised they wouldn't be.
No, I know.
I was expecting like a blow up on social media of negative afterwards, and I saw
We're all
nothing.
positive.
Yeah.
Because if you saw what Meredith got crucified on social media because of theirs. Something about they didn't sign the contract and they ended up giving money to so Triple H lives across the bay.
Oh,
So
and
there's
he
some,
gives a lot of money.
oh yeah, and so he always puts on a big display, but I don't know if they gave him money or something and people like, something about entering into a contract.
Yeah,
with citizens.
it's interesting.
I spread the word ahead as much as I could.
Yeah.
And we
Probably all
posted
did, and I
too.
think that helped.
See, I mean, I knew it was gonna be small, but I thought it would be more. It would equate to more, because we're spending the same money, right? So,
No, we didn't spend the same money, he gave us a break.
oh,
We
so we
spent
spent less
6,000.
money?
So we spent 6,000, but we had to pay for porta potties, we had to pay, we've done in the past, we pay for employees' food for the night because we're asking them to come in
Yeah.
and work. So we paid for that, we paid for the LED performance, we paid for Carol Brown. So, but, and I was trying to think what else. Oh, and we paid for the boat,
Yeah.
so.
We didn't pay for the awesome karaoke show though.
Oh, that was so funny.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you missed it. Carol's son sang. You
I think I
missed
saw
that.
some of that.
Yeah, you did a duet.
Yeah.
And we did do a duet, yeah.
All right, anything
Yep, that's it.
else?
Let's call it a night.
Yeah.
I need a motion.
I'm motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Rob, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good night, Deb.
Thank you.